don't really like it. Harsh weather occurrences are often. Glider turbulences. Taming, fishing, curse chance. Workshop production speed. Plant growth speed. That's another thing that's a chore, waiting for stuff to produce. Plant growth speed is really high. Weapon upgrade cost is 100%. Weapon upgrade recycling yield. Mining damage. Loot amount. Okay. Play.
Will give you so much more fun and joy than these mediocre video game experiences, especially nowadays. You know, there's so many masterpiece video games that you can play now and have a ton of fun with. And there's so many video game experiences.
Wow, Final Fantasy IX looks so much better than it used to, but the background looks crappy. They should have fixed it somehow.
And so many video games that I have yet to
You can't get AI to sharpen this up.
play. So many masterpieces, so many classics, so many games that people would recommend and absolutely.
If there was a single-player RPG that I would return to, it would probably be 9, because 9's got, like, the most content, I think, that's still a Final Fantasy game.
Love, and I would love to play them. And it doesn't even have to be just masterpiece video games. Maybe there's a game that's really compelling to you and you want to give it a try. And when you have all these alternatives and you have all these mediocre video games, there's just no reason to waste your time playing these video games, especially when video games are supposed to be a source of rejuvenation for you. They're supposed to be this source of rest.
Recreation.
And this rest translates back into your life. It helps you to be more effective in your life outside of gaming. And with these awesome experiences, you can have so much joy and fun. But
Marcus Kruber. Oh, that's Vermintide 2. Oh, God. That was Vermintide 2, huh? I was like, what game is this?
And with these awesome experiences, you can have so much joy and fun. But I get it. It's so hard to sometimes step away, especially when the story is 90% over. Or you've bought this video game for $80 and you want to get your money's worth. You want to see what all the hype is about. You want to see why people are so hyped about this video game and why people say it's a masterpiece. And you just kind of don't get it. And so you think to yourself, okay, well, I'll just give it some more time. And you know, sometimes you do have to be a little bit patient. There's a couple of video games that start off a little bit slow. There's a lot of examples of this where I've played a video game for 2 hours or 5 hours and I think to myself, I just don't get it. I don't understand the hype. Maybe this is just not for me, and I give it a little bit more a try. Maybe I look up a couple guides or something, and then 5 more hours later, I absolutely love the game. I'm so glad I stuck with it, and I really enjoyed it. And that is the case for some video games, but sometimes you'll kind of put that extra 5 hours in, and you'll go, it's just not for me, I don't get it. Or it's just the game won't turn around. And so, you know, you have to have this balance. And so it can be tough. But I think it's important to just kind of be mindful of this idea, because this same idea applies in life, where sometimes you're just not mindful with your time. You're wasting your time doing things that you're not enjoying, or you're putting a lot of energy and effort into
I like
something
shooting these
that
bats.
just doesn't give
It's
a lot
fun
back
to me.
you. And it's just really easy to waste your time and not have the best out of life.
I'm having fun doing this. Like, my thing is I really don't like being told what to do. So if they'll allow me to, like, go to some monument that nobody told me to go to, and grind some mobs that nobody told me to kill, to get some XP that nobody, like, really is going to reward me for or whatever, I'm happy. Let's go down into the crypt. That seems like a good idea right now. Instant deck 7 zombies were there. Why? Why was so many zombies right there? That is insane. Oh. Alright, let's see if we can... God damn it, one shot. I don't like the one shots. I mean, the one shot is a fucking problem to me, and I already have, like, their damage is, yeah, a little too high, I think. This is better than Mortal. Way better than Mortal. I like this game more than Mortal, and it reminds me of Mortal. This is exactly like what Mortal does. Like, same premise, same everything. This stamina takes way too long to charge. I guess I need stamina regen, but like, goddamn, look at how long that takes. But is it the same swings? Yeah. No, I mean, yes, it was.
I think that after playing a number of video games, this kind of lesson is a lot more obvious to me. It's a lot more aware. I'm a lot more aware of this idea outside of video games, where I try to be more mindful of this and to be more respectful of my time and to try to enjoy every single moment, to enjoy the present moment, because that's all you have in the end of the day. And that also things are never always going to be the same. You know, things change, and that experience might change one day or it might get worse. And so I want to enjoy that moment for what it is. I really want to be mindful of the time that I put into things, and of course just enjoy life in general. And of course that goes with video games as well, where you want to not waste your time and you want to enjoy those video game experiences, because of course it also has the impact of influencing your life in terms of restfulness and all those things. And if you're having kind of trouble with this idea right now, maybe you're playing a video game that just feels like a slog, or you're just not having that much fun with video games, I have this great 2-hour video where I talk about video games and give a ton of video game recommendations. It's kind of like a video game hangout session. Check it out. It's a really awesome video. And hey, if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. I make a lot of awesome video game content on my channel. Check it out. And I will see you in the next video.
Make a change, but first I gotta loot.
This is me, sitting on the stage of the Chaos Communication Congress 2025 in Hamburg, one of the world's biggest hacking conventions. Something is about to happen that neither the journalists I spoke with nor the Congress organizers are aware of. The 3 white supremacy websites I just talked about, White Date, White Child and White Deal, go offline.
Oh, I don't drop it.
Now, more than 2 weeks later, they are still offline. No, this didn't happen live on stage, and no, it wasn't a moment straight out of a hacker movie. It was mostly timing, a bit of performance, and things that were already unfolding in the background.
She's
so
smart,
how did we
I
get
like
here?
her.
To answer that, we have to go back a few months. Dating apps are available for almost everyone. Jewish dating apps. Apps like JDate, Muslim platforms like Massmatch, Christian dating apps, Black dating apps, Asian dating apps. They're usually built around shared culture, religion, or lived experience. At least that's the idea. A few months ago, I found a dating site that presented itself exactly like that. But it absolutely isn't. On the surface, White Date calls itself an ethno-cultural dating platform. Tradition, family, shared heritage. But underneath, it's something else entirely. It's a white supremacy website. In fact, it's a whole network of them. White Date isn't about people preferring to date within their own background. Nobody cares about that. The problem starts where preference turns into ideology. Rather than being based on religion or culture, this platform is centered around race. Rather than promoting compatibility, it encourages worldview. Rather than fostering connection, it normalizes hate speech and conspiracy narratives. Users are casually introduced to ideas such as white genocide, the notion that white people are being systematically replaced. They also introduced her anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Jewish control over the media, politics and finance. The language used is borrowed straight from extremist forums and has been softened just enough to be considered discussion. This isn't just filtering gone wrong. This is extremist propaganda embedded within a dating app. What appears to be a niche alternative to Tinder is actually a global far-right ecosystem with thousands of users across the US and Europe. Loneliness is being monetized. Hate speech is normalized. Criminal ideas are shared behind profile pictures and heart emojis.
Who built the castles and wrote the symphonies, I always say. It was always the white people. And the others, they just latch on and want to use all of that, acting as if it were their own achievement.
What?
But in the end, they're just feeding off the creative power of the
Africa,
European
you
peoples.
fucking ignorant piece of shit.
Yes, and if we simply no longer exist for whatever reason, whether it's mixing or not having children, then that's it.
That's also, it's like soaring off the branch you're sitting on. So White Deal, it's a freelancer platform for white freelancers, meaning white providers of services, online or offline. White ChildNet is a comprehensive digital platform in Dusk designed for users, for two parties. In this process, one specific party involved can choose to donate vital biological contributions like sperm and eggs, while on the opposite side of the arrangement, the recipients, who are white of course, are those individuals and couples who are actively seeking such medical donations because they are currently struggling with various forms of infertility. Of course, German culture is outstanding, but it was also created by white people. And when a non-white person comes in and says, yes, I'm black, but I speak low German and that's why I belong here, that's not true. And even with a German passport or an English passport, a non-white person will never be European, never be white. And we need to be clear about that. Because being patriotic national does not mean being racially exclusive. Ultimately, it's about loyalty, and from the Jews and also the half-Jews, even the quarter and even eighth Jews, we can no longer expect 100% loyalty to our white interests.
What?
And some will probably never understand that what is happening here is a race war. And yes, of course, that sounds crazy.
This is Liv Heide. Or rather, this
is true. And even with a German passport or an English passport, a non-white person will never be European, never be white. And we need to be clear about that.
What?
Because being patriotic national does not mean being racially exclusive.
Oh, okay.
Ultimately, it's about loyalty, and from the Jews and also the half-Jews, even the quarter...
Yes, Jesus Christ. At that point, he goes crazy.
And even eighth Jews.
I like what he said about... I actually liked what he said about...
Because being patriotic national does...
Being patriotic national does not mean being racially exclusive, right? Like, it's weird, and like, but he's complaining about that. But I actually really like that it doesn't mean that, you know? Jesus Christ.
Ultimately, it's about loyalty, and from the Jews and also the half-Jews, even the quarter and even eighth Jews, we can no longer expect 100% loyalty to our white interests. And some will probably never understand that what is happening here is a race war. And yes, of course, that sounds crazy.
This is Liv Heide. Or rather, this is what she calls herself. She presents herself as a thinker and a cultural guardian, the woman behind White Date, White Child and White Deal. Later in this video, I reveal who she really is. For now, what matters is the ideology she publicly promotes. Liv's favorite concept is something she calls Europits. According to her, Europits are the smartest, most naturally superior survivors of the Ice Age, descendants of Cro-Magnon men. She deliberately avoids using the word Caucasian, she says, because that would include Jews and Turkish people. It's old-school racism from the 1930s, repackaged as modern identity politics. It sounds scientific, it isn't.
It's not.
Cheekbones do not determine intelligence. Skin color does not determine morality. DNA does not care where your grandparents were born. But pseudoscience does not need to be true. It just needs to sound convincing enough to justify exclusion and hierarchy. And then there's my favorite part, the registration warning on White Date. It says, adding personal contact details and social media profiles is against our terms.
So I'm getting,
it would harm our business and expose your data to spammers, prostitutes, data collectors and infiltrators, anti-white journalists and fads, who, despite our extensive filtering and security measures, still manage to get in. So they warned users about so-called anti-white infiltrators. It felt less like a warning and more like a challenge. So I sent one in. Actually, not just one, several. I sent several AI bots into the site. They were carefully prompted, closely supervised, and intentionally boring. They didn't argue, provoke, or radicalize anyone. They just existed. And then, the first bot got banned. Why? Because I poked around in every text field I could find. And that poking broke the bot's profile completely. Pictures disappeared, messages vanished, settings reset. Then I got an email explaining my account was banned. So I simply wrote the support. They said there were suspicions that I'm a bot and that the user needs to be white verified. I had to upload a video of myself holding an email address in front of the camera, which I did within 15 minutes using a deepfake software. Once verified, I asked if they could just delete my account because my profile was broken, which they directly did. A premium membership for 3 months because of all the trouble included. Yes, they literally upgraded a broken AI profile to full paid status while insisting it was a verified white user. It is exactly the kind of absurd bureaucratic farce that makes you question whether these people are dangerous or just spectacularly incompetent. And then, Leo appeared. A user started messaging the bot asking if it wanted to meet someone in real life. He even suggested bringing the fight along. Apparently he wanted to brag that he knew her. I thought, bingo. We arranged a meeting at Hermannshöhe, a semi-famous restaurant on the northern German coast. Naturally, the bot did not show up, but I did. And I watched as they arrived, and I followed their wannabe Aryan or Europid, whatever, road trip through Travemünde, a Viking village and other spiritual neo-Nazi sightseeing spots. The whole thing was a living postcard of terrible taste in motion. After they stepped out of the car in a quiet suburb of Kiel, I looked up public records, and the trademark White Deal was tied to a company officially registered in France, but the owner's current address?
You're like the real life, girl with the dragon tattoo. You're like my real life girl with the dragon tattoo. Are you single? What's the girl with the dragon tattoo's name? I can't think. You're like a real life, Lisbeth Salander. And I love you for it. You're like a real life Lisbeth Salander. I didn't think people like you existed.
That very house in Kiel suddenly became clear. I never had to leave my basement. All the critical pieces, the alias, the company, the trademark, even the physical location were sitting there in plain sight. Meanwhile, on the site, users whispered about anti-white spies and secret investigators, paranoia online, transparency in the real world. Because of a trademark. Lol. I continued to gather more data on the site, and the irony became impossible to ignore. Let's just say the ideological ambition did not match the infrastructure.
Damn it.
The site felt like someone installed WordPress in 2012 and then decided that security was a left-wing concept. Profile photos with intact EXIF data, GPS coordinates, timestamps, bathroom selfies broadcasting exact locations to the world. The user base in October 25, about 4,000 users in the US, hundreds more in Europe, 12% women, the remaining 88%, and no, we still don't know if that is intentional, were men. Men paying to feel chosen, love, locked behind a paywall. Then the story breaks. The German site publishes it, Swiss VOZ covers it, German Stern TV sends journalists undercover with hidden cameras to date some racists, and what happens? More users sign up. Every time the public looked closer, the platform grew. Visibility alone didn't weaken it, it validated the people, already lurking. The websites were fully anonymous, no imprint, no owner, no transparency. Hate speech and conspiracy theories everywhere, officially classified as digital extremism, and still online. The authorities tried, sort of. The German intelligence agency searched for Liv Heide. They found the wrong one. Not the woman running the racist platforms, but an actual Romance novelist with the same name who had nothing to do with any of this. What happened next? They called her employer, and she lost her job. Apparently that counts as law enforcement. Anonymity plus bureaucratic failure equals extremist networks operating almost unchecked. So I am happy with those websites being shut down. If and how they come back will show if the fact that they have been shut down was good or bad. At this point, especially in the context of the C3, it feels appropriate to say something about ethics. No one here is claiming moral authority. What is clear, however, is that society has no effective answers for how hate, conspiracy theories, and digital extremism spread. The internet, which made nearly every piece of information accessible, has become an epicenter of misinformation. People fall for Pizzagate, QAnon, chemtrails, and flat earth debates. Facts are overtaken before anyone can even blink, and frustration is displaced downwards onto those already marginalized, rather than addressing the structural issues behind societal failure. Meanwhile, social networks are exploited to influence real-world events. Think Cambridge Analytica and election interference.
This is why I stay off social media. I don't wish to be influenced by these shitheads.
Demonstrating that this is far from harmless eccentricity. In general, we should act responsibly in digital spaces. Avoid harm.
Yeah, and I saw no responsibility on Facebook at all. I know it. You know what I said the day I left Facebook, and you're gonna think I'm lying, like to be dramatic, like a streamer, like to pull this for content. But no, I remember the day. I remember when I left Facebook, and I left something on my Facebook, and I left it there for a year. I said, kill the president. And when I saw that it sat there on my Facebook for a whole year, I just left Facebook. I needed to know. I believe what I said, kind of. Sort of. I don't believe in violence, but I believe in my right to say it on Facebook, you know? I pulled a fishing rod. Yeah, we see. And you. There, game's a bit better. The stamina was the problem.
Respect others, and only interfere when there's a meaningful reason. In the digital world, responsibly exposing or shutting down networks that spread hate, conspiracy theories, and extremist coordination can be considered a form of civic responsibility, a practical application of democratic principles. It ensures public spaces are accountable, harmful ideologies cannot operate entirely in secret, and journalists, researchers, and society can observe what is actually happening. That a person in a pink Power Ranger costume ended up nudging this forward is absurd, but sadly illustrative of the state of things. The websites White Date, White Child, and White Deal were highly questionable at best, probably illegal, operated anonymously and with almost no oversight. Data published on okstupid.lol consisted only of content already publicly visible on the platforms and conversations with my AI personas. All other private information, including messages between real users, IP addresses and other sensitive data, was not released publicly. It was shared only with trusted journalists and researchers via DDoSsecrets.com, a platform specialized in responsibly hosting sensitive leaked datasets. This transparency allowed further investigative work. Journalists identified additional politicians active in these networks. Several people wrote me that they reported suspected illegal activity to authorities using the exposed dataset. In context, these sites were not critical infrastructure and had limited relevance even within the radical right. They primarily served a subgroup drawn to a mix of pseudoscientific racism, conspiracy theories, and nostalgic far-right ideology. Exposing them or shutting them down did not harm anyone. It only forced participants to confront the public consequences of their beliefs. Ultimately, these platforms were not dating sites. They function as hubs for hate speech, conspiracy theories, and ideological coordination. Participation on them was inherently political. This is probably a good place to stop for now. The sites are currently offline, and we don't want to ruin the magic. Some good news: someone reached out to me and thoughtfully redesigned OkStupid, resulting in a much more user-friendly interface. Credit where it's due. Thank you for the work. Part 2 will show how I got the data in the first place, which vulnerabilities were found, how they were disclosed, and what was actually inside the dataset shared with journalists and researchers. It may take some time until Part 2 is published, to keep the suspense, the magic, and the full story intact. For now, remember, this isn't about white people dating white people. It's about how that narrative is used as a cover to spread hate, racism, and conspiracy. And how, as this case shows, even the most secretive networks can tremble with a bit of curiosity, creativity, and trolling.
Oh my! What? Huh? What? Huh? What? What? There is simply no way that can be true.
Black power. Black love, black love.
What are we here for?
Agent ever run up on me, I guarantee you they won't. I'll put a hole in their chest the size of a window. Safe line repair, safe line replay. That's what's gonna happen. They touch me. Unarmed woman was killed by ICE. If you think you're about to come and brutalize the people while we're standing here, we'll run and find out.
Tensions are currently boiling over in cities across the nation as federal immigration agents clash with communities fighting back. And at the center of this stands the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, who are stepping up like never before to shield the vulnerable from what many see as overreach by the government. With ICE operations ramping up under the current administration, the Panthers are drawing a line in the sand, and the face-off is only getting more intense. Because this isn't just about protests anymore, it's about fighting back in neighborhoods, feeling the full force of federal power. This is why the Black Panthers are massively recruiting and training new members right now to build their ranks to meet the growing threats on the ground. Chapters in states like Pennsylvania and beyond are opening their doors wide, welcoming folks who want to learn self-defense, community patrol tactics, and how to stand firm against authority figures who overstep. These training sessions focus on legal open carry, where allowed, de-escalation skills, and organizing food drives or escort services for immigrants at risk. It's a call to action that's really crucial with numbers swelling as word spreads through social media and word-of-mouth networks. And people are joining because they see the need for organized protection in a time when federal agents seem to operate with little accountability. But that isn't just all. The Panthers' presence is making waves in cities, showing how their approach can shift the mood on the street. Take Philadelphia, for example. The local chapter has been active in supporting anti-ICE demonstrations, showing up armed and ready to protect protesters. Their visibility alone sends a strong message. In one recent incident at a rally outside City Hall, Panthers stood their ground when police approached. Dressed in their signature black jackets and berets, they calmly recited local laws on open carry, reminding officers of Pennsylvania's Crime Code 6108, which allows them to hold long arms without fingers on the trigger.
Because you're walking up to me and I don't like you and I don't trust you and I don't got no conversation with you. So unless you're investigating the crime, leave me the alone. I don't care. I got a gun license right here. This is legal. Philadelphia Crime Code 6108. Move your car out of people's way and get the out of my face. Thank you, officer. Have a good day. You have a bad one.
Did you see that? When the agents were faced with this unyielding stance, they backed off without escalating. We can all agree that this was a moment that showed how knowledge of rights and a united front can make authority figures think twice. No arrests happened that day, and the protesters continued their work uninterrupted. And this kind of resolve is spreading and encouraging more communities to organize similarly. But aside from this, another thing that is fueling this surge in recruitment is the heavy federal presence in places like Minnesota. According to the mayor, Jacob Frey, local police number around 600 officers. But that's really dwarfed by the over 3,000 federal agents deployed there under Operation Metro Surge. More than 2,000 of them are ICE personnel who are backed by hundreds of Border Patrol agents and others from Justice Department agencies. While this massive influx started weeks and weeks ago, it really exploded after the tragic shooting of Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old U.S. citizen and mother by an ICE agent. Residents describe the presence of the federal agents as an invasion, with agents in unmarked cars patrolling neighborhoods, going door to door and even staking out stores like Target. Videos show violent arrests, windows being smashed, and chemicals sprayed directly into people's faces. In fact, one woman was dragged from her car screaming as agents pulled her out. And another clip captured an officer firing red
you had
chemicals
10%
point blank
when I
at a protester
fucking
blocking
meleeed
their
you
path.
twice.
But all these are even just little compared to the other things happening, of which not even all make it to the news. And what led to this particular escalation all goes back to the Trump administration's aggressive immigration policies, which have escalated from deportations to confronting protesters head on. In fact, Trump's and J.D. Vance's comments on the whole matter didn't help, because they keep suggesting that agents would go door to door and granting them absolute immunity in cases like Good's shooting. It's moves like these that make people question if the government is protecting citizens or punishing dissent. However, the people of Minnesota say there's no time to grieve, especially with arrests happening blocks away. One resident even recounted their own ordeal, saying agents broke their car windows, pepper sprayed them, and dragged them out after they monitored an operation. They then ended up in a crammed ICE facility with cells packed with over 20 people, where 5 would feel crowded. And interestingly, the Department of Homeland Security stayed silent on the details, but the pattern is clear. This overwhelming force and chaos is why the Black Panthers are ramping up recruitment to protect the people. They see it as their duty to step in where local authorities can't or won't. Panthers argue that arming communities legally and organizing patrols can deter such aggression. In fact, Chairman Paul Birdsong, who is leading the Philadelphia chapter, puts it bluntly when he said if Panthers were there when Good was shot, things would have turned out differently.
Agent ever run up on me, I guarantee you they won't. I'll put a hole in their chest the size of a window. Safe line repair, safe line replace. That's what's gonna happen. They touch me. Unarmed woman was killed by ICE. If you think you're about to come and brutalize the people while we're standing here, around and find out.
And that's just it. I mean, she had no weapon, just like Caden Rumler, who was shot in the eye, and many more others. Birdsong also talked about escorting immigrants to safety and arming with bigger tools than what agents carry, which are all within the law. Now, this is all about making public servants like those ICE fearful of public dissatisfaction and not acting like untouchable tyrants. So as the standoff worsens, with shootings like the man hit in the leg after allegedly attacking an agent with a shovel, mayors like Jacob Frey call it an impossible situation. No wonder the city and Americans all over demand ICE leave. But with Trump's tactics that are already increasing divisions and escalating operations to silence protesters, the Panthers fill the gap. And while their aggression is measured and focused on protection and not provocation, If agents think they can brutalize without consequence, it is time for them to start thinking twice. Because this escalation is as a result of Trump's policies that prioritize deportation over humanity while ignoring the human cost. And when Vance talks about immunity for these ICE agents who are wreaking serious havoc, how then can anyone feel safe? And most especially, Minnesotans feel targeted as their streets have been turned into battlegrounds. This is why the Panthers are bringing more and more people into the fold, because someone must safeguard the vulnerable, feeding people, patrolling and holding power accountable. So it's not about supremacy, it's about survival, fighting back, and solidarity. So what do you think? Should more communities follow the Panthers' lead in standing against ICE? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you found this breakdown eye-opening, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content that digs deep into justice and rights. Also turn on your notifications so you don't miss new uploads. Until next time, stay curious.
I used to be a runner in high school and college, and in my late 30s, I began to jog. Early wave of joggers, one of the most foolish things I ever did. And I was jogging near my house in Washington. I was an assistant attorney general of the United States, best friend of the attorney general of the United States. And I was jogging near my house. And a police kind of came by. Fortunately, I had my Justice Department credentials in my hip pocket. Boy! My hair was beginning to gray, and I was jogging all over. Boy! Hey, you boy! What? Boy, you better stop!
Like you're a child.
So I stopped. Two white cops get out, slam me up against a wall.
What?
Spread my legs, and then spread my legs hit me pretty hard between the legs, and it hurt very much. I kept saying, look in my back pocket, reach in my back pocket. Boy, we're gonna, you robbed the store, boy this, boy that, boy. They pulled out this thing, and it was a nice leather thing. It's a Justice Department official. Oh, they melted. Oh, you look just like, we had a call, and you just like, it fits you too, sir, blah, 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 blah. Well, of course, I called the police chief the minute I got home, and those guys were suspended and disciplined. If I had had no credentials in my pocket, I would have been in jail that night. Middle class, 37-year-old father, 2 children, doing nothing more than jogging. And that's not the only time it happened to me. Well, if it would happen to me, imagine what would happen to a 17-year-old black kid in the inner city.
The man speaking is Roger Wilkins. I'm David Hoffman, and I filmed this interview with Roger back in 1989, and this 72-year-old man is telling me of his experiences growing up in the 1940s and 1950s and 1960s. He had a really tough time. Although he came from a middle-class family, became a lawyer, actually won a Pulitzer Prize, working for the Washington Post as a journalist with Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, the famous Watergate investigation. So I'm interviewing Roger in 1989, and we really hit it off. He was ready to talk, and I was ready to ask. And I said to him, be yourself. Just let me know what you felt, what you saw, and think about it in terms of future generations. He had a daughter, Elizabeth, and he said, I'm going to talk like I'm talking to her grandchildren. So here we are in the present with all that's going on in the country right now, the racial animosity, stuff in the streets, the government, the desire to make things better. And I'm thinking of Roger. He died at 74 of dementia, and he was speaking to me at that time for the future. We're in the future. I hope you enjoy or find provocative what Roger had to say.
In the early 50s, America was a horribly segregated country.
Yep.
It was
not that long ago.
It was as if the whole South was a rotten fruit that everybody could smell. There were a couple of notorious lynchings in Mississippi. A black kid named Emmett Till whistled at a white woman. They killed him. A black guy named Mac Charles Parker, who was accused of having raped a white woman, taken out of jail, killed, thrown in the river. I think both those guys were thrown in the river. Blacks were routinely pulled out of cars and beaten up by state troopers all throughout the South. Black poverty was just horrible, being shown in magazines.
Fucking responses are insane. Look how fast that guy is.
Then the Supreme Court decided that it was unconstitutional for states to run segregated school systems. And little cute, clean, starched black kids began to show up on people's television screens, being walked to school by their parents and screamed at by white people. Aww. The contrast could not have been more stark. The white people who were screaming were, the caricature is the people, working class people, you know, not terribly clean. Some of them obese, faces distorted with anger. Screaming obscenities at 6, 7-year-old children. Well, television was new, everybody was glued to it. That was one. 2, the country had fought this fight for democracy. Blacks felt it, whites felt it, and blacks were restless. They just, sitting on the back of the bus, being relegated to the upper floor of a theater, and sometimes to only one row of the theater. Going to a gas station when your bladder was full and not knowing whether you'd be permitted to use the bathroom. Having white people be just as rude to you as they chose to be, giving you absolutely no respect. Not being able to try on clothes that you bought at stores. All of that stuff. And worse was going on. And Northerners knew it, and they had tried kind of to avoid it. But when blacks started taking their children to school, the North could no longer avoid the stinking, rotting fruit. And the South was represented by some of the most unattractive people in Congress. Senator Theodore G. Bilbo of Mississippi was just an awful human being. And there were a lot of Southerners in the House who just spewed bile. And so the North couldn't see it anymore. And blacks began to get hope from the fact that the Supreme Court had finally said, and blacks interpreted this 54 decision to mean the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution include us. Just as we've always said, all God's children are equal. And so we started moving. And white people thought that's right. And a lot of white people joined in.
You sound like you're talking about sort of the continuation of the Civil War, the way you described it, or it's like...
Segregation.
Yeah, that's how I view it.
And the legalized oppression of black people was a continuation by the white South of the Civil War. That's exactly what it was. It was taking out on black people their venom against the white Northerners and saying, you may think that you took our way of life away from us, but you're wrong and your foolish social theories are wrong too. So it was a continuation of the Civil War, there's no question about it.
I want to ask you about some very basic concepts as they were perceived then. Integration. What did integration mean?
Well, integration had another connotation that was, it was squeezed the same way communism squeezed economics out of us. You couldn't say that you wanted integration to be all mixed up because the white Southerners kept on saying, well, all I want to do is sleep with white women. They say, no, we don't want to sleep with white women. Keep your darn women. They're not that cute anyway. We don't want that. What we want is good educations for our children. And I think that integration for us meant freedom from oppression. I don't think that black people really thought of joining the country club or this or that. They thought, get rid of this humiliation. First of all, get some equal education for our children. That everybody knew. That was a goal. Get equal education because that's our future. But don't tell me I can't go to the bathroom anymore. Don't tell me I can't sit anywhere on the bus or in the theater. Don't tell me that. I don't, it's just too terrible. I don't think it was a positive thing. I just think it was get rid of all this oppression. I mean, you cannot understand how horrible it was to have to contemplate a trip south. And the third thing was freedom from fear of being injured in the South. But a trip to the South for a Northerner was fraught with peril because you were worried that you run out of gas and some person would be violent to you and you have no recourse to the law because the law was totally unfair. And then once you got to the town where you were going to be, if you're wise, you had made arrangements to stay with friends because you couldn't stay at the local hotel. And there was often no public place to eat. Well, we want to be rid of all of that stuff. I think if I thought about it, I would have thought that white people's bad views of black people are based on ignorance. And when we get together, they will cease to be ignorant about us, and they will.
Yep.
The scales will fall from their eyes, and they will begin to be decent. That's what I thought. I was pretty naive, but that's what I thought. I think that black people were always super Americans. We had to believe in America more than other people did in order to have any hope, in order to live, in order not to go crazy. We had to believe that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments meant something, and that the Declaration of Independence, though written by a slave owner, did mean the full scope of the words. So once we had the opportunity to make it work, we went full bore at it. And besides, it had this terrible itch of the humiliation in our daily lives that we wanted to get rid of. But we also had something else, and that was a very powerful faith in the...
I have a terrible itch caused by the war on drugs, the illegality of drugs, the persecution that I face at the age of 17 and all of my life for drugs. Problems with drugs, lost friends over drugs, and I really view that as like how he just said it. I've never heard it said so well. It's burning humiliation that I'm burning to get rid of. And I'm fucking sick of it. And until they fix it, and the damage is already done. Like, the damage is already done, both on the drug side and on the anti-drug side. It's like the damage is done on both sides. So like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I need the war on drugs to end. I need the racism to end. I don't want to live like this, and I don't think these people are going to change their fucking minds. Like him. I don't think people are going to change their minds.
Decency of white people.
Some of us are decent. I know many white people who aren't.
I no longer have that faith. But we...
Yeah, I still have the faith. I know some good white people. Spiritual guru types that aren't too interested in racism or sexism, homophobia, bigotry. I have faith. I know them. A good story would be, my best friend was a protege of a spiritual guru named Sri Kaleshwar. He's passed now. He passed at a young age. But, you know, that guy, he ran an ashram in India with 30,000 people, and he chose a white boy, my best friend, you know, as one of his proteges. And we're all immensely proud of this, and my best friend brought this to Denver, and he taught a lot of my friends how to spiritually be very strong. There's an example of a white boy who's so far beyond racism that he's trained by a, you know, by a Hindu spiritual leader, like in his inner circle. And all my other friends are like that too. My inner circle, they're all like that.
We had it then, and that was, if we can only demonstrate to white people.
I have a scientifically, analytically minded atheist friend who's in Mensa. He's not like that. He's quite the opposite of that. But he still is just as smart and just as spiritual and just as wonderful. All of them white, which is fine. But not all of my closest friends are white at all. Not at all.
People.
You know, I don't know. There's so many different races in my crew.
How rotten.
I'm not going to list them all out because it's dumb.
System is. Most of them will change, and the country will change.
We got a friend in Japan. You know, it's not dumb. It's just sort of like, you know, it's dumb to try and remember. It's hard to remember all of it. We got a friend in Japan who's Japanese. 5 white boys, one of us is dead. A Chinese boy, a black boy, a Jewish girl, an Irish girl, and I think that's everybody. Let me think about all the faces here. Like, yeah, and I'm dead serious. Like, that's my crew, and I say this knowing that some of them might be listening to me right now. So it's like, you know, and it's weird, like, this idea about white nationalism, that's fucking insane to me. That's sort of like flat earth to me. That's like acting like the melting pot doesn't exist. It's fucking so myopic. You might as well literally dig a hole and put your head in the fucking sand. You might as well. It's about the same. It's about it. You wouldn't be able to see the world. You'd be about the same.
Very rapidly.
Yep.
I think that gave us our discipline, and that faith, both in the country and in the decency of white people. White people owned everything. They owned the means of. They owned all the payrolls.
Means of production.
Yeah. They owned all the cops. And they owned all the criminal courts. And the ownership of the country is a great enforcer. Black person get out of line, he's deemed crazy and he's dealt with. Sometimes he's killed. Sometimes he's sued for. He's prosecuted for tax evasion. Sometimes he's fired. Black people knew. I mean, in earlier, of course, you got killed or whipped in slavery time. So black people knew that it was very dangerous to express anger to white people and to tell white people how they felt and how stupid they thought white people were. And so the old black comedian once said, "Boss asked me what the weather's like, I look in his face before I look outside." I mean, and that kind of summed up the universe, the emotional universe within which black people had to operate. So it wasn't until the 50s and the 60s gave black people a little elbow room in the society that we could begin to express what was really in us and express our true outrage at this horrendous wrong, continuing wrong that had been done to us over
and then we had the
60
80s.
years.
That's what the 80s was.
Which makes Frederick Douglass all the more astonishing. He made a 4th of July oration in 1852 when there was still slavery. And he said, what is your 4th of July? A hypocrisy and a mockery. Black guy saying it in 1852, unbelievable. If I said something in 67, when I was 35 years old, it had antecedents back in that segregated schoolhouse, you know. It had antecedents when people threw stones at me when I rode to school. Spit great gobs of gooey, nasty spit on my bicycle seat. So that, and it probably had also immediate stimuli, but the passion that went into what I might have said in 67 had a depth that was as deep as my entire being. Ralph Ellison wrote a great American novel called The Invisible Man. One of the great indignities that black people suffered was being invisible. White people not seeing them, or as Ellison said, what you see is something on the fringe of me, or what you see is a figment of your imagination, but you refuse to see me. What those people were saying, okay, you're doing all this for the South. Now see me. Here I am, right in the middle of New York, right in the middle of Chicago. See me. Do something. I need a job. I need a better school. I need something. And this is awful. So what I saw,
The game's very naturally
despite
beautiful.
the destruction, I was pleased because
Reminds
the
me
invisible
of,
ghetto dweller was becoming visible.
There's a bit of this developer had a lot of influences, or developers, and one of them is Vintage Story. Yeah, Vintage Story is very naturalist like this, where it's all procedurally. I mean, this isn't procedurally generated. I think it is when you start, kind of like Haze of Cud or Jor Fortress. But I don't. But beyond that, it's not really procedurally generated, like in the moment. Anyways, it's actually a set, sandbox that's birthed when you start. And the naturalist beauty of it reminds me, for some odd reason, of a Vintage Story, which, despite being a Minecraft clone, is a very naturally beautiful game with good forests like this. Where like this game's not afraid to put too many trees on the screen. See it? There's so many trees on the screen right now that you literally cannot see what the terrain is, and you fall all the time. See it? And I like that. Like, I like that naturalist beauty, and that they're not afraid to do it. Plus, the trees are fairly detailed. They're not... I mean, maybe they are. Unreal Engine... What engine is Nightingale on? What engine is Nightingale on? Is this Unreal? It's gotta be. Unreal Engine 5. 5.4 in early 25. This is to keep the games current with the latest tech from the top reduce technical debt. This is Inflection Games, huh? Yeah, it's a procedural system. It does like manufacture like these maps. It does. It's kind of, well, I'm sorry. No, I asked Nightingale, but I actually meant I got the games wrong. I'm playing. What engine is Enshrouded on? Sorry. Oh yeah, King Games. What other games have King Games done? Portal Knights, Sacred 3. Royal Revolt, Anno, Create a New World. Royal Revolt, Sacred 3, and Portal Knights. Portal Knights. I didn't know that. So this is like the sequel to Portal Knights. It's a beautiful game. God damn. It's genuinely beautiful, like the real world. I feel it feels like the real world sometimes. Yeah, like this cliff would be unforgiving in the real world, and it's unforgiving here. I guess I'm trying to strike north, not down, but there is something down there, and I'm curious what it is, but I don't need to find out on this run doing this. Hoping to maybe reveal some map. I cleared out that skeleton gutter place, or whatever, the fucking mausoleum. I'm trying to get north to the follow the melody thing. I believe I glide here. Yeah, I'm gonna glide here. The rain is awesome. There's lava. I didn't make this jump last time, but I did this time. Right on. Oh, those are strawberries. Hopefully they're good. What's all that? What is that? Indigo plants. What is that? Oh, it's copper ore. Oh, cool. It's odd that it's right on a cliff, but maybe it goes in a bit. Let's see. Oh, you didn't log me out for a long time. That's cool. Yeah, I'm trying to loot the save. $40 grand. I need to go to bed. I'm gonna try and get to my goal first. Unshrouded. Oh. Did not mean to fall in there. lots of copper here. I'm sure that's some kind of thing that's going to be a big improvement for me. I want to bring some of it back. Got a good bit of copper ore here. Maybe I can make a... I don't know what you would make copper into, but yeah. It's a good copper mine. Oh! Not too good. I fell. At least it goes up again. Oh, that hurt. I hear footsteps. Oh no, it's the bass in the club. Sounds like a heartbeat. Stayed up very late tonight. Oh, this is the gun locker? I wasn't trying to get in the gun locker. Ah! Son of a bitch. Ah. It appears that I did not reach my goal. I guess we could run like west or east for a while and see if we find something. Hardwood. Fireball 2, Greater Health Potion 1, and Shroud Survival Flask. Nice. I like this game. It kind of starting to seem better to me than it used to be. The XP is fucking slow. I'll say that. It looks like New World, this tree. Oh, my torch gave out. Chain heal 1. Jour Wusla. Really? Alright, I guess I call it here and come back. Quite fun though, I gotta say. I came pretty far. It feels like Rust, you kind of go out into the world and you try to make it back. Maybe I'm cheating myself on not dropping the body, because that kind of is maybe part of the challenge, is going back naked and dodging all the risk and stuff. I think... 3 XP. Okay, guys, you have been watching Skycat Live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. It's 3 a.m. I've been at it for, I don't know, fucking long time. Let's go look. 13 hours and 18 minutes. And, yeah, and so I am going to be posting this to my channel. Just a reminder, you've been watching Skycat Live. Come to skycat.live is my website, and come click on the cast face to donate. It's a PayPal link. Come to my Twitch or my YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. Thank you for all the likes, subs, and follows that you guys have been giving me, and I love you guys. Thank you so much. I will be back here in the evening, or sorry, in the tomorrow morning. Well, yeah, like tomorrow morning. And I will play some video games, and thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to stop the video here. There we go, and stop.